take up any more of his time or any of his thunder, but he will tell you how he wants you to do things. And please help me welcome our news guy, Harlan Blumenthal.
I love that. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Wow, this is exciting. I am thrilled to have this opportunity to try to motivate you to motivate your people. I do like this to be interactive, and it's a couple of different ways. By all means, the chat is there. Kathy's going to help me sort of person that, if you will. I might ask questions. They might seem rhetorical, but you can certainly answer them in chat. The other thing is I might actually call on somebody to give me some ideas, but I also like that if you have an idea as I bring things up about, maybe membership retention or something, throw it in the chat. That's quite all right. We're happy to have those, and we're recording the session. So a couple things, make sure that whatever you put in the public chat is something that your grandmother would approve of. And secondly, we will keep that. And we will send out a little transcript to the folks who are on this call, especially if there's some good dialogue that occurs and everything. So I'm going to go ahead here real quick and switch over. Oh, just there's a little reaction button there. Is there anybody here tonight who is not in District 55? Okay, great. We've had that before, which is very cool. And I just wanted to see if in fact, that was going to be the case. All right, so here we go, kids. All right, does everybody see my screen? Just a little nod there. Excellent, excellent. Okay. It's really interesting to have this discussion and go through this when we are in a Zoom-only mode. Yeah, I could say we're in a pandemic and everybody would get that, but the reality is we're just not meeting face-to-face, and motivating folks is really challenging. Everybody who works is probably on 1 to 6 to 30 Zoom calls a week. They're Zooming with their family. Lark Zooms with her grandchildren every other day. She gets it. We're all Zoomed out. So how do we go ahead and motivate members, existing members who have been on board for 5, 10 years, and the new ones who just started? I want you to start thinking about that as we go through this. And the mission is the mission is the mission. It's always been that way. But of course, I highlight the fact that it is about members. And no matter what we do, if we're not catering to our members, then we're not doing a good job. So whether you're an officer, a previous officer, whether you're just somebody who wants to help out or thinking of becoming an officer next program year, it's incumbent upon all of us to help our fellow members. Don't care if you're a mentor, don't care if you have never given a table topic speech before. We are all here to help one another. I liken Toastmasters to a university, and specifically, right, we all look for our DTM. That's the pinnacle. That's what a lot of us strive for, just like we would strive for some kind of an undergraduate degree. Seems pretty simple, but let's go back to the beginning, right? What do? We go ahead, and if we're looking for colleges, that's really what we do. We go out and we try to figure out, right, what's the best college for us? What does our major look like, right? We visit them. We virtually visit them now, right? There's different ways, but the point is, right, we go ahead and we search an area. Well, the same thing is true about Toastmasters. I don't know that everybody picked the first club that they went to. A lot of people end up doing that. However, we're trying to determine what's the best fit for us, right? How do we know what the best fit is for someone? I would say that the very first time anybody walks in the door, that's the opportunity. That's you can only make a first impression once. Every time a guest walks in a virtual door now, we should be greeting them. We should be having a conversation with them. And certainly after a meeting, we should be asking them their thoughts. And we want to make them feel invited. Now, the reality is sometimes members come, or excuse me, guests come, and we think to ourselves, I don't know if they would fit with us. I don't know if they're right for this school. They seem like they would do a great job and would work really hard, but I don't know if they're a good fit for the club. So think about that as you try to grow your membership. There are certain clubs, and Stephen Hall is on, and he and I are both members of Master Speakers. We're an advanced club, and we specifically deal with feedback, right? Evaluations. And so there is a process. Not everybody can join our club, but for the most part, unless you're an advanced club or a corporate club, right? I mean, the whole notion is, does it make sense to be with that team? Culture is extremely important. And I know people think I'm 30 years old or 40 years old, but of course this was the first rated R movie I ever went to. I should probably point that out. Of course, that would be on the left side, correct? So that's Animal House. And I think, there's a lot to be said about people who want to join a fraternity or a sorority, right? And there's that camaraderie, but there's that culture aspect to it, right? And it isn't just about us as existing members. It's how do we figure out if that individual will fit in with us culturally? Well, it's not really up to us, is it? It's up to them, but isn't it incumbent upon us to ensure that we have an inviting culture? So again, we don't have guest books right now, do we? I'd actually be curious to know, is there anybody here on the line who, when a guest comes on, you have already taken their info, you do take their info before they leave, right? Because they had to have found out about you somehow, and somebody sent a link. But if in the chat, if anybody has a method by which they're grabbing a guest's information and then following up, I'd love to see you throw that in there. That would be a really interesting one to take note on. As far as membership goes in general, right? Have you ever taken a look at the members who only stay 6 months or less and leave because they're, too busy versus a job or school, et cetera, right? Any ideas as to why they leave? And this isn't really a question. It's, what are you doing to find out more on why they leave and what they want?
You've
So
got
what's your
some people
major?
too that have given you info about guest lists and
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Okay. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So when we go and we go to school, usually our freshman year, we don't really know what our major is, but they always ask us, what do you think you want to do? Or you have some idea. Well, I've spoken to so many clubs and so many individuals who say that when they first joined a club, they were not given this member interest survey. If you don't ask somebody what they want, how the heck are you going to know how to deliver that? You can't. There's no way that you can cater to an individual unless you ask them, what do you want? Why are you here? Right? I mean, and of course, I just took a snippet of this, but your club needs to mandate that this is happening, and you're doing a disservice, right, to everybody if you're not. This form, just as there are mentorship forms, et cetera, just this form alone could be used to provide a mentor. So they in turn could have a real nice discussion with that new member. But it isn't enough to just do this. What about, is this still your major? What happens 6 months later, right? When we go to renew dues? What happens when I have a change of job, or I have something else going on, or I just got promoted and now I want to focus on something else? I might tell you, but chances are a member isn't going to raise their hand and say, here's what's changed. It's incumbent on us to go ahead and ask them again, hey, are we still on track? Are we still meeting your needs? Is there anything else that we can do to make sure that we are helping you achieve your objectives and goals? And this one, this is this still your major? I have a hard time counting on two hands. Heck, probably one. And Lark, no need to answer, but I'm sure with a nod, you can agree that this is something that is not done very often as you've traveled the globe. And this is key not only to retention, but just making your members feel like they're valued. Imagine that, what Kathy, what do we have? 40% attrition or something like that? And isn't that what it typically is? Okay. And I'm not suggesting one survey would make that 20%. But since it's rarely done, if we shaved 3 to 5 points off of that reduction, boy, that would be significant if we could do that. So just, again, something to consider. I just threw this into SurveyMonkey, right? There's plenty of different ways that you as a club can do this. So you just throw it in a Google sheet or whatever you want, but take the time to put this together and just simply do this April 1st. No reason not to do it April 1st and then do it July 1st or, October. I mean, it just, whatever makes sense, do it twice a year. I promise you that the results will be positive. Okay, course catalog. You just went ahead and you just are so excited. You're going to the university now, and then they hand you that book, and it's about 400 pages, and it's online now, right? And you're trying to figure out which communications class. It's like 1312-061, and oh my God, I have no idea what classes I want to take. Well, I mean, it's very similar to Pathways. However, with Pathways, of course, there's only one example of how to be successful in Pathways, right? I mean, well, there's that one, wait, there's that one, oh, and there's that one. And the last, that one is, honest to God, that's real. I didn't make that up. That was on one of the district's websites. I made it smaller than it is, and that would absolutely dissuade me from ever wanting to be a Toastmaster, ever. And so I kind of liken that to Candyland, because this is what Pathways looks like if you're not familiar with it. And this is what Pathways looks like if you don't embrace that and help your members, and certainly your newer members, really understand the benefits. We just had some awards given. Kathy, thank you for the information, right, on folks who have 75% or more of their new members join Pathways. I mean, it pretty astounding. And you would think that, hey, out of the gate, that's all they do. It's amazing how challenging it is to get people to sign up. I would say that most of us on this call have been Toastmasters for a while now, some longer than others. And I would say that you are the folks that I most worry about, because you're a CC, CL, AC, blah, AL, blah, right? You're a legacy or traditional, whatever you want to call it. And I need your help, right? Erica Lockwood needs your help. Sally needs your help too. We need your help to make sure that you are explaining to your new members and your existing members the benefits of Pathways. Right? This isn't a Pathways commercial or et cetera. But if you're not doing that, if you're not embracing Pathways, how are you going to help one of your members see the value? If you're uncertain about Pathways and the benefits, Kathy will tell you there are tens of videos on our resource library and on our YouTube channel. And I recommend highly, if you're not familiar with it or you're struggling, absolutely take some time to get to know it. I beat that one to a pulp. Okay. Meeting roles. How are meeting roles educational in nature? I'd be really curious to to see what people are saying about that. Just throw some ideas out there. Why do we think that meeting rules are educational in nature? I'm going to take a look here at the chat. I'm sure people must have some idea. Nobody has an idea. Okay, Mr. Hall, good one. Exercise listening skills, conduct productive meetings. Right. Opportunity to think improvisingly. Yes. Okay. So, right. I mean, we're thinking about the actual role itself and what you do, right? So let's think about for a second, if you're a Toastmaster, well, that's leadership skills, is it not? If you're a grammarian, that certainly is listening skills and communication skills. And so that might seem kind of corny, right? Like, well, come on. I mean, really, every single role that exists within a meeting has some communication and or leadership component to it. And when you have somebody who's afraid to be the Toastmaster, yet they want to excel at leadership, you have to kind of scratch your head a little bit and say, but, right? I mean, so when we understand what that member is really trying to achieve, let's just make it soft. Let's just say, oh, well, good, leadership. Well, then you should definitely be the Toastmaster or the GE or the table topic master, because you are in fact leading, right? And I just think that sometimes we forget that those are didactic moments. Those are opportunities to teach. Those are opportunities to learn. And we all know that at one point we were just voluntold to go do something, and right off the bat, right? Do your first speech right away. I don't know. I challenge anybody to be timer first. I don't care what anybody says. That's a hard role to fill, because all you want to do is listen. Time. So just think about that in terms of, right, what is that education? And like this table topic evaluator. Has anybody ever seen a table topic evaluator? I have never seen that in my life. Lark, you have? Well, of course you have. That meeting must be a little bit longer. So when I saw that, I thought that was really interesting. And so, but I have not experienced that. Anyhow, so consider, right, those roles and how you can help, especially the newer, younger members, take advantage of that kind of a situation. Extracurricular, right? I mean, again, you're not just going to go to class. I mean, you got to be a member of the chess club or play a sport or, right, be in the robotics team. And so what does that mean? Well, we all understand what that means. Let's look at, officer roles and district roles. Pretty sure that in the newsletter that will drop now in an hour and 40 minutes, Lark has a really nice piece about the fact that there are district leadership positions available to folks for applications that we're taking through the end of January. And so there's an opportunity. When we have members who seem to be really excited about pathways, really excited about what Toastmasters has to offer for them, those are the folks that you should be glomming onto, right? Our social media strategist this program year, Lily Smith, she is in West Austin too, which I'm a member of. And one day I just said to her, you should do this. You really should do this. You understand social media well. I think it would be great for your personal and professional growth. And she just said, sure, let's do it. She's also VP PR of our club as well. But the point is, we can all identify who those hungry individuals are. And those hungry individuals should be our next leaders, certainly at the club level, and then most definitely helping them and with experience and resources and guidance, get them to that district level. Kathy, when you first started as a Toastmaster, did you think you'd be in this position? Did you aspire for that?
Not immediately, but not too long after that.
And why?
I was in business and professional, so they pushed me out right away.
So what made you decide that you wanted to just go for it?
Well, the trip to France that never happened was the big drawing point that Stan got. But I got into area director and I loved it so much. I asked if I could do it again, and they said, no, we need you to be a division director. So it kind of, And every time I've done something, I've enjoyed it more.
I like that. I like
Gut
that.
for
Thank
punch.
you. No, that's great. That's great. And being an officer, as we know, is not just about your role. I think anybody who has been an officer understands that there's kind of a buddy system, right? If you're the president, there's sort of the VPE is your sidekick. If you're the VPE, the VPM is sort of your sidekick, and it just sort of goes from there. However, if you're the president, you should understand every position within your cabinet. I would hope that you would take the time to understand that. And of course, being an officer is not being on an island, right? It is communicating and making sure that you present your findings to the executive committee. And it's interesting. So, executive committee, right? Under the best of circumstances, boards of directors do the strategic planning and decision making for their organizations according to the mission, vision, and values of the organization. But really, if you're a club officer, you are really there to make sure your club succeeds, and you are there to make sure that you do everything possible. And as we all know, it isn't just about the 7 officers in your club. Last time I checked, there were area directors and division directors, a few other people who, like Kathy, are somewhat significant, but are super busy, don't have the time for it, that kind of thing. But I think we sometimes fail to remember that we have so many resources as Toastmasters, certainly within District 55, but I don't know if how many of you on the line, I know quite a few of you, but I don't know if everybody has ever sent an email to Toastmaster headquarters asking for something or whatever. They are so quick to respond. The information that they provide is incredible. I mean, even picking up the phone and calling them. So I would just say that you should get to know your area directors without question. If you don't know who that is, well, then that's something that we can talk to Livia about. But the point is, they have resources that they can help you with. The Speakers Bureau, which I think is it Lisa Traugott is running that now, right? Okay, so Lisa Traugott is running the Speakers Bureau, and they are specifically designed to basically parachute people in to a club that might be struggling with one or more aspects of basically their membership or the way they deliver speeches or moments of truth, whatever it is. And that education piece is extremely important to keep folks motivated, keep morale up, keep them engaged, right? I mean, think of any other ways that you can possibly help folks get more educated, more learned, if you will, right, on those topics. But I think leveraging those resources outside of your club is an absolute must. You've got to be able to have those conversations and those lifelines with people. Chair an event. Okay, well, I was voluntold immediately when I started at West Austin 2 to chair a club area contest. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. What? But it sounded like a great thing for me to hone my leadership skills, certainly my communication, but my leadership skills. And wouldn't you know, the only thing I had to do was talk to a few people who had already created the wheel for me. And from there, it was a matter of just understanding how to orchestrate the event. And I think that especially VPEs, right? We know that, you're going to be doing that club contest. You're going to be in charge of that. But really, at the end of the day, it's not such a bad thing. It's actually quite enjoyable. But if we can get our members, if we can help motivate these folks to understand some of the benefits they can achieve and what they will receive by sharing an event, it goes quite a long way. I don't know if any of you have chaired an event and you felt, I'm never doing that again. I'm not saying that it's not possible, right? I mean, it's possible that was the fact, but after chairing an event and understanding how many people are there to help, it's actually quite fun to do again. And it is challenging. It is work. But boy, do you feel good when you pull off something like this or a TLI or any number, right, of different programs. Participating in a contest, and wouldn't you know it, there's two coming up, of course, right? Our international speech contest is always, and then this year evaluation contest is the second one. I also was voluntold to do the evaluation contest, and I had absolutely no idea what I just knew that I was supposed to give evaluations, didn't read the rule book. I had like 3 days to prepare, right? But it was, boy, it was really educational. But let's face it, our members, some of them, we know who they are. They're ready to compete the minute that they become a member. They're signing up for the contest, they're signing up for everything. And that is, it's sort of like if you're an officer, you're a parent, and you just feel so good. You're just like, oh, my kid is just, they've grown so much and they're going to do this. It's the folks that are a little reluctant to do that I want you to consider having those conversations with those folks, right? Why are they a little nervous? If they've met the requirements, right? If they've, completed level 1 of pathways and they've been in Toastmasters for 6 months, what are the reasons why they might not want to compete? And again, outside of, well, I just don't like competing, right? Think about that, because most of the time I hear people say, oh, I'm really nervous. And I think to myself, well, every time you give a speech, you're a little nervous, aren't you? And at work, you have to give speeches or presentations. And so there are so many ways to spin an opportunity for a member. So just think about that the next time especially as we're coming up to it now, right? What are we doing to help them? And just kind of as a side note, as you've got members who are looking to compete, consider maybe reserving one of your meetings solely for evaluations, or solely for those folks who are looking to compete in international, right? And it happens every year. Some clubs do that religiously. Other clubs never really thought about doing that. But again, this is a great way to motivate those folks, especially the ones who we know are going to go beyond area into districts. Think about reserving some time for them. It's a great way to motivate your audience and your members to participate. So the point here, right, is just be more than a member. And a lot of this goes back to what we talked about earlier, and that is the membership interest survey. If you don't know what they want, pretty hard to give them any other choices and help them along their path, along that journey. There are going to be folks in every club who are content just being a member. And you know what? That's great. That's fine, as long as we understand what they want, what they need. If we're doing everything we can for them, I think we should feel good that, if they were to leave, well, hopefully it's for a reason, because they had to move, right? Or their job, or some other reason. But it's those members that we know, that, as I mentioned before, those members that we see who are shining, who are just coming in right away, and we want to get them and elevate them to that next level. And I just thought about this. Some of you probably in your clubs have the same 7, maybe 10 people who are always officers, right? I mean, there's no question about it, right? And it's never somebody who's in their late 20s or 30s, right? It's all of the other demographics, right? We're always, oh, this year I'll do that. Next year I'll do that. And so how can you get those new members? Heck, I guess I don't care what their age is if they're brand new, but right? I mean, how do you attract those new members, right? And that's part of what Lily teaches. That's part of a lot of what we're driving at with social media and how you folks go to market, right? With advertising your clubs. I mentioned Lisa Traugott before. She did a great session on PR and how you go ahead and find the right people for your club. The point is, start asking folks today who are younger to shadow you in your role, especially of course if you change officers annually, right? But have them shadow you and sit in on an officer meeting so that they have an idea of what's coming down the pipe. And then when you do the succession plan and you do that transfer, it's a lot easier. I'm sure everybody can think of one or two members right now that would be perfect for your position or for a position, on the an officer position. So how do we get members to be excited about any of this? That's everybody's going to do their own thing. Everybody's going to make a decision at the end of the day whether this makes sense for them or not. But I tell you what, if somebody gives you $45 plus $20, right? If they give you $45, either they just want to part with $45 or they're serious. So let's think about the fact that if somebody's given you their money, they do expect something in return. Ask them what they want. Spend the time with them. Most clubs, and Kathy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most clubs in District 55 still do not have a mentorship program. They don't have an official one, nothing else, right? And educating, right, new members comes a lot, from mentors. So how you motivate new members, how you educate them is by showing them this is how we structure our club. Mentorships, surveys, encouraging them to take officer roles, whatever it might be, right? So really, again, at the end of the day, and I like this, right? Because a college degree, well, it probably, if you're going to have your PhD, it probably costs 7 figures, right? But come on, I mean, college costs a lot of money. It costs 6 figures without question, and TI just does not, unless you're heady and you've spent that much over the course of your Toastmaster career. Then maybe it was 6 figures. I can't really say that for sure. However, I am certain that people make more money when they get a college degree. I haven't known that for sure, but I do know people in TI who make more money because they got promoted because their manager said, I need you to go and do this and it will help you in your career. And I'm tongue-in-cheeking that a little bit, but I think we all understand that at the end of the day, this investment is so little, but it's still an investment. They're still giving you something and they expect something in return, right? So that's it as we go through this. I'm a firm believer that the best way to accomplish things, right, is to row in the same direction. And if your officers and if members who are seasoned within your club really help new members understand the value and continually communicate, this is what you can gain from it. Help me understand what's important to you. Understand that path. Encourage the heck out of them. Your clubs will grow. Your members will be thrilled, and they will go ahead and start recruiting people because they're happy. I think that's one of the biggest things is you get a happy member, they're more likely to go ahead and have one of their friends, family join, especially now when physical boundaries don't apply. So that's it from that standpoint. And so what I want to do is just open it up and have kind of a little Q&A session, or Kathy, you can kind of take a look at some of the things maybe that were in the chat, and let's just have a, you know, a little bit of a discussion around this if folks are amenable to it.
We did have a question about whether or not there was an online version available. I did put it in chat that for the survey, Easy Speak does have one that's customizable, but I thought it was a great idea, and we'll see if we can't get somebody to. Vishal might be talked into building an online fillable one that we can put on the our district website. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. Lark, you made a comment about, you know, at corporate clubs, it's easy to add young members. And you know, I think there's, well, I think there's a couple of things. And Stephen, you're a member of Dell Toastmasters. And I'd be curious to know, does HR play into that? Do you have, like, in your new hire packets, do you talk about that? Or how do you promote Toastmasters within Dell?
Well, Dell is actually kind of, I'll say, restrictive on that.
Okay.
They have certain employee resource groups that that they promote, 6 or 8 of those, and Toastmasters is not on that list. So we are actually, we can't do open houses, we can't put out tables, we can't have events. So word of mouth is what we do.
Okay.
And as our membership averages around 40 until COVID, and now we're about 25, I think. But so definitely word of mouth for that. And as
Okay.
managers see that the employees are getting better, though. You mentioned young people, Art mentioned young folks. We have had an influx even since COVID of the 20-something crowd coming in, and they're hearing it from management going, "Hey, this is beneficial."
Yep.
Yeah, and I never, Kathy, we don't say leadership and communication, right? There's kind of a catchphrase, or you have a different spin when we look to attract guests to come in, and I never remember what that is, and I should, but it's so eloquent. It's basically, you know, kind of a management flair to it, so that it doesn't look like it's a Toastmasters. It's a way to improve. Lark, do you have any idea? I mean,
ours is leadership development at Medtronic.
Okay. Leadership development. There we go. Okay. All right. I mean, again, it doesn't, yeah.
Well, I'm really sad to hear, I just have to comment on this. I'm very sad to hear that Dell is that way. At Maximus, I will tell you, we are able to put it in our monthly newsletter. We are able to send out communications, and we do. In fact, we do it before every meeting. We send out a communication to the whole staff at Maximus, the Texas project. So I'm really sad when I hear those things. And to me, it's all a matter of the way that we charter Toastmasters clubs, and especially within corporations, and we need to do it differently. So we need to identify corporate champions. We need to be sure that we maintain those corporate champions throughout the time that we have corporate clubs within a corporation. And that's our bad. And I would say, Kathy, to you and all of the leaders in District 55, whenever we charter a corporate club, we need to identify those corporate champions and maintain them. So senior managers within different departments, and I can tell you, BAE Systems, those guys have 3 corporate champions within 3 different departments, and they maintain those, and they communicate with them. They send them newsletters. They keep up constant communication, and that is what we need to do within every single corporation around the globe.
At Medtronic, we actually have 14 clubs, and a lot of y'all have heard me say this before, throughout the United States. I'm not even sure about overseas. I haven't looked into it yet, but we have a corporate council that meets every 2 or 3 months, where all the clubs get together and talk about things that affect
Fabulous.
Medtronic Toastmasters. And actually in San Antonio, we and the San Antonio is the diabetes division, so we actually have people all over the country, but focused in on this hub. We are doing a leadership engagement program where we're going to start a pilot program. It's going to be a speech craft, and it's going to be for 15 people that have been recognized by their managers that we want you to get a communications course under your belt. And we love Toastmasters at Medtronic, and it's because the people at the top believe in it. My boss's boss was our original executive sponsor, and he's so eloquent, and he attributes Toastmasters to why he is where he is. So we're big believers throughout the entire Medtronic organization, and it's 85,000 employees. So that's my spiel.
Oh, that's good. Well, I don't see anything else here in the chat, nor do I see anybody kind of raising. It seems like everybody's got this figured out, which is good because now we expect membership to double, right? Isn't that the goal? And
well, Harlan, I appreciate your emphasis on mentorship, and I also appreciate your comment, which was absolutely totally on target. And that is, we may start out with a member interest survey, but we need to check with them all the time. Now, I did put in the chat, we need to do that on July 1st and January 2nd. You don't want to wait until it's dues payment time, right? And I always say too, that we should always talk about membership renewals. It should never be dues are due.
Right.
It is that your membership needs to be renewed, and it needs to be renewed for exactly the reasons that you've talked about. And that is to continue your learning in this organization.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's exactly it. And I am so confident that if everybody here walks away and all they do is just provide 2 interest surveys a year, that they will be so rewarded with actual communication back from their members, telling them this is what I really need. I've had the discussion before with my club and with master speakers, and we in master speakers, we rarely lose people. It's just kind of the way it is. But you know what? Once in a while it happens. And Stephen and I sat around a couple months ago, and we said, do we know why these people leave? They're busy. Okay, well, we all know that that's just an excuse for it's not interesting anymore. You haven't met my need, right? So he and I immediately were like, okay, well, we have to change that. And we don't foresee, but you never know. So we're going to come up on the first of the year. We'll throw something out there. I'd like to practice what I preach. And I just feel so strongly asking people what they want. It's just like a relationship, right? I harp on that, the 5 languages of love, right? I mean, if you don't know what your partner wants and needs, you can't really help them, can you? Why don't you ask what your members need? And then, I don't know, maybe we can help them. So yes.
I have a question for you. So how many clubs have a member orientation meeting or have a guest orientation meeting and don't allow you to even join unless you go through that guest orientation meeting to become a member?
Other than an advanced club? I don't know. That's a great question.
Let me tell you. So I was a member of the Today Toastmasters Club initially, right? And when I wanted to rejoin them before I became president, and I will tell you, I did want them to get a banner with my name on it. I really did, because that's where I started my journey. But I will tell you that their VP education had a member orientation meeting with me. They would not accept my dues until I attended it. And she said point blank to me, if you are only joining this club to have a notch in your belt and you're not going to participate, we are not going to accept your dues. So I love what they do. And they literally, as a guest, you have to go through it before you can even join. And I love it.
Fair. Right. I mean, I think a lot of us might be scared to do that. However, that ties back into what I said earlier. And that is, you go out and you try to find a club. How do we know that they're the right member?
Yeah.
because, or, the right individual, because if they join and then 3 months later they quit, well, it looks like we didn't do anything, and maybe we didn't because we didn't set the expectation up front. So that's a really, really good point. I need new members. I promise you, not every single member that joins is the right fit. They just aren't. So, boy, I have to think about that one for, but you're right. We're supposed to do orientations. And again, that can be a tough one.
And they signed us up. And by the way, at that meeting, they get you enrolled in Pathways. So, I mean, it's beautiful. They go through the Toastmaster Promise. They talk about Pathways. You ask any questions that you have, and then they literally will sit with you and take you through the Pathways process. So I'm telling you, I'm a believer, and I've learned so many things. Yeah.
Something that I do that is maybe not as intense as the orientation. Anytime we have a guest, I just give them my phone number during the meeting, and I say, hey, if you have time for a quick 5 to 10 minute call, I'd love to tell you more about Toastmasters and see what you're looking for. And that has been really helpful for our club. And I never ask for a 30-minute call because that's a little bit harder for people to commit to, but 5 to 10 minutes they'll usually agree to.
That's awesome, Linda. That's spectacular. And I think that again, that just goes to, great, they came, now what? I mean, it's no different than anything else. Somebody shows up and gives you something, you want to ask them, was it worth their time? So let's see, Doyle, what's right? Well, the orientation place to pair them up with a mentor. If it's a new member orientation, I think that's a great place to pair them up with a mentor. Absolutely. I don't think that's something that you wait. I think that when they're a guest, you explain to them, hey, these are the benefits you're going to receive, right? And one of them would be a mentor. So then now they go into it, they become a member, and boom, right away, you've assigned them to John or Mary, that kind of a thing. And they're off to the races. I think that's an excellent practice. Does it have to be that way? No, but I think that's an excellent practice so that you're kind of giving them all the information right up front. And then they've got a lifeline the entire time. It's a very good, it's a good question. I think so. I think that's the right way to play it. Good one.
I would be curious to know how anybody else gets their new members involved, like Harlan's talking about a lot in this presentation. Does anybody have any unique ways that they get new people encouraged to start doing things? Hetty, you've been around a long time. How about you? Stephen was going to say something too.
Well, I joined the Dining Out Toastmasters at District 56 again. And they sent me, because they were on Zoom, and so they sent me a questionnaire and asking me what I wanted to accomplish, like Harlan was talking about, and that certainly did help me to know what I could accomplish through their club. And I was one of their area directors when I was in Houston, so I knew most of the people in there. But they have a lot of new ones, and they are very dedicated, and they know what they want to accomplish, and I think that's the main thing. We haven't had a new member in 2 years, so I can't ask any of my members in my club. And they're all over 75 in my club, and we're losing them fast. So I don't know. The other club is doing very well in Kerrville, in Fredericksburg, and they do ask, what do you want to accomplish? And then sign them up for their icebreaker right after their dues are paid. And that gets them involved right away.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, what were you gonna comment about?
Well, despite Dell's restrictive public relation restrictions that we have, we maintain a healthy membership, and we've gotten President's Elite like 15 years in a row. And we do that, I think, partially because we give our members a mentor right out of the gate, whether they want one or not.
Right.
We say, by the way, here you go. And and that's a great experience as a mentor to being the teacher is the best teacher. That gets it's kind of like holding the bike for someone as they start pedaling. And we say for 3 speeches, but you can have them as long as you want. Or I like to say, when you're ready for a different mentor, just let us know. And that gives the mentee permission to say, I just don't understand what that Stephen guy's saying. I need, I have knocked heads with a couple of mentees that we just didn't get along, wasn't the right fit, and that's fine. So there's 20 other people in the club that can help. So our VP Education always assigns a mentor as soon as they sign up. We collect their, not dues, what'd you say, Lark? Yeah, the renewal. Once we
Their
have
membership fees.
the membership,
Or your $45. Yeah.
Once we have them, they get a mentor, and I think that has contributed greatly to Dell's success over the past 25 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. Hey, Lark, let me ask you this, because as Stephen talked about, they just sort of really tell you, hey, here's what's going to happen. Have you seen in your international travels any club that basically says, okay, you're a new member, and within 2 weeks, you've got to give your icebreaker, and then like they give you a curriculum? Have you ever seen that? And the reason I ask, right, is because we want to tell our members, hey, you really should, but wonder what would happen if we said to them, within the first 3 meetings, you're going to have to do X. Have you ever seen anything like that in your travels?
So yes and no. Yes. Bottom line is that I will tell you, outside of North America, the goals of members are amazing. So I can just tell you, in my travels to China and India, Sri Lanka, when someone joins Toastmasters, they are joining it for a reason. And that reason is to help them in their professional life, for them to be promoted in their careers, for them to improve their English, and for them to be able to communicate more effectively and lead more effectively. And they are driven. So they want to immediately engage in the program. But just as Hetty said with the Fredericksburg Club, I think she said, absolutely, that they'll sign you up. They'll sign you up for a role at the next meeting. They'll sign you up for your icebreaker, and they get you immediately involved in the program. So I do believe that the newer markets are much more engaged and enthusiastic about Toastmasters. And let's face it, we're the oldest market. The United States is the oldest market. But I think that we have got to promote the benefits of Toastmasters. We have got to connect the dots for our members that when you join Toastmasters, it is going to help improve your personal life and your professional life. And we need to find out, as you said, from the interest survey, what do they want to gain? And then we need to continue to ask them, all right, what do you want to gain next? And Pathways, just look at the titles of the past. Pathway sells itself to corporations. I will tell you, I used to have to sell Toastmasters to corporations. I go to corporations now, I show them Pathways, and they're sold. All I have to do at that point is just tie the bow around the package, to collect their money and go away. Bottom line is, though, we don't want to go away. We want to make sure that they are engaged and that management at the highest levels is engaged. And that's where we have got to do a better job within all of our districts around the world.
Yeah, great point. Okay. Well,
So,
Kathy, I know I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm from the Texas State Talkers, and we have actually an interesting, I think, issue with membership, because our pool comes from state workers. And since we're not able to be on campus, we kind of have to have a passive advertisement, if you will. We can't really actively do much because of the whole, state communication situation. But our VPE actually came to one of the meetings, and we are going to start a Bring a Buddy program where, where I guess maybe we wouldn't normally she came with, a couple of ideas and had us rank them. And that's what we're going to kind of start doing to maybe drum up some membership. And I like some of the ideas that I've heard about, retention. I know that when I got to my club, I didn't even know that there was an option other than pathways. Like they had already completely instituted it. And so it was good, because I'm a little bit of a techie. So it was good to see that there was something, that involved in that, kind of self-sustaining in ways if you're following the paths correctly. So I just wanted to say that we're working through that, but we do have that issue. It sounds like kind of maybe like Dell, where we're not necessarily able to advertise as much as other corporate clubs. Maybe. So thank you.
Good information. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. So, okay, Kathy, I know we have 2 minutes. So is there any other housekeeping that I need to take into consideration before I stop the recording? And hopefully people.
I don't know how many people are planning to attend Lark's leadership talk